Ya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Labha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad, Paramahansa Parivajrakacharya, Chatura Sotari's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Morning, everyone. Today we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 18, Text number 1. Maitreya Vacha Tadeva. Sorry, I put my glasses on. Tadevam akanya jalasa basitam mahamanas tad viganaya durmada hariviritva gatim anga narada Rasatalam nirvivishesh tvaranvita Maitreya uvacha tadevam akanya jalesa basitam mahamanastad viganya durmada Hare viditva gatimanga narad Rasatalam nirvisheshe tvaranvita. Someone want to try? Shekargana Chayavacha Tadeva Makanya Vijalesha Vasitam Maharastad Viganaya Dvaga Prasadatam Visheshatam Chayavacha Eva Kanya Jayeshwasitam Mahamanastad Viganaya Durmada Eva Kipakatanganada Nisanani Visheshatam. Ladies, Nachaya Vacha Mahamanastad Viganaya Durmada Evagati Anganarada Satrani Visheshatam. Maitreya, the great sage Maitreya, Uvacha, said, Tat, that, Evam, thus, Akarnya, hearing, Jalaisha, of the controller of water, Varuna, Bashitam, words, Mahamanaha, proud, Tat, those words, Viganaya, having paid little heed to, Durmadaha, vainglorious, Hare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Viditva, having learned, Gatim, the whereabouts, Anga, O dear Vidura, Naradat, from Narada, Rasatalam, to the depths of the ocean, Nuvivesh, entered, Twara Anvita, with great speed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maitreya continued, the proud and falsely glorious Daicha paid little heed to the words of Varuna. O dear Vidura, he learned from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly betook himself to the depths of the ocean. Please repeat. Maitreya continued, the proud and falsely glorious Daicha paid little heed to the words of Varuna. O dear Vidura, he learned from Narada the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly took himself to the depths of the ocean. Report. The materialistic warmongers are not even afraid to fight with their mightiest enemy, the Personality of Godhead. The demon was very encouraged to learn from Varuna that there was one fighter who could actually combat him, and he was very enthusiastic to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to give him a fight, even though it was predicted by Varuna that by fighting with Vishnu he would become prey for dogs, jackals and vultures. Since demoniac persons are less intelligent, they dare to fight with Vishnu, who is known as Ajita, or one who has never been conquered. Amigana Tamirandasya Gana Gana Chakshu Manitanya Tasma. So we have the age-old battle. We hear about the good guys and the bad guys. Every Hollywood movie has this kind of theme in there somehow or other. Good guys versus the bad guys. But in this case, we have Hiranyaksha. He's going a step further. He's going to try and fight with Lord Vishnu in the form of Lord Varaha as a boar. So today I thought I'd try and get into a little bit more of how we end up in this position of like thinking that we're so proud of whatever we do, we're so arrogant that nothing can harm us, we're so conceited that we can lie and cheat and get whatever we want in this world. How do we get to that point? So in the Bhagavad Gita there's a whole chapter called the Divine and Demoniac Natures. So I'll just read a few of these verses. And it's quite easy to see just by the qualities that we are cultivating or we have cultivated in our previous lives, that we can find ourselves in these positions where we we have this, we don't look like a demon, but we have these qualities of, there are demons with the big horns and all that kind of stuff, but what we're talking about here, as Shreya Tattva was mentioning yesterday, when Krishna categorizes the people, he doesn't say like man, woman, he does all that also, but generally he'll break it into these qualities, the demoniac qualities and the godly qualities. So in this chapter, we get to hear a bit, and it's interesting. Basically, the first 3 verses, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna the godly qualities, and then for the rest of the chapter, he's explaining, the nature and the qualities of the demoniac. So we can see that we can easily end up with a lot of these qualities in a short period of time, actually. So text 1 to 3, Supreme Personality of Godhead said, so these are the godly qualities: fearlessness, purifications of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. In text 4, we get a list, the beginning of the list of the other side. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to the demonic nature. And then Krishna will elaborate in these next verses. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done, Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. They say that this world is unreal, with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. That's one of the famous verses from that movie, Oppenheimer. He was famous for quoting that when the first atomic bomb went off. Taking shelter of insatiable lusts and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. They believe that gratifying the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds and thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. Thus, perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules and regulations. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. There are 3 gates leading to this hell. So these are the ones where we step in. Lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation. They lead to the degradation of the soul. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive for self-realization, and thus gradually attains a supreme destination. He who disregards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So we see in these last few verses the concept where regulation and understanding what we need to do is an important aspect to being able to recognize these qualities when they arise in us and to rid ourselves of them. In the second chapter of the Gita also, there is a sequence of events that takes place where we find ourselves in a place of illusion and bewilderment, and that is again starting from the contemplation of the sense objects. This lust, this desire begins to develop, and from lust, from the desire to acquire something or some person or whatever it may be, an attachment arises. So if this attachment is not fulfilled, then anger arises, and from anger the downward spiral really begins to happen, and we go through a stage of bewilderment, illusion, and then Krishna says we fall back down into the material pool. So these pathways, we can find ourselves in a situation very fast where we may do something or say something or whatever it may be that we didn't really want to say or do. And more often than not, we will regret those statements that we done or made, but in some cases we will develop more of an attachment, more of a desire to do these things again. In the Nectar of Devotion, there's this cycle, starting with desire, and then we actually perform an activity and we get a result. Sometimes that result is like an instant result, instant karma, or otherwise it goes into a seed form, it sits in the heart. But as the cycle comes around, we get an experience from doing that activity, and then we will also develop a proclivity to do that activity again, or maybe not to do it again. And then again the desire to do it again will happen. And slowly this, by doing something over and over again, becomes natural. Becomes just something we do. So if we don't see that we've done something with, if we don't see with introspection an action that we've done that is out of pride or arrogance, or it's done in a way that is hurtful for others, we just keep doing those activities, and that activity then becomes part of who we are. So this is how we cultivate, or start to cultivate, these demoniac qualities, and then we just keep building and building on that. And then before you know it, we're so great that we don't take advice from anyone, we don't need anybody's help. We can challenge anyone, like we have Hiranyaksha in this case here. He's so proud, he's so arrogant, he thinks he's so powerful that he's going to challenge Lord Vishnu. Now, if anyone understands anything about God, that's not something you would take seriously. But when you feel like you are strong and powerful, and he's been to Varuna, and Varuna, he's a demigod. He's obviously, he mentions himself that he's getting a little old. It's like, what can I do? You can defeat me easily. He said, but if you really want to fight, you go see Lord Vishnu. So without hesitation, he runs off. Interesting, like Narada Muni is always in the right place at the right time. He's famous all through the Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata, where there's a situation and then there's a need for some advice or something, and poof, Narada Muni comes. So we're here again. And sometimes you'll see in the case of Kamsa, he was going to kill his sister Devaki, and then Vasudeva kind of calmed him down, and he was taking them back to the palace. And then at some point Narada comes to him and says, look, it's probably not such a good idea, this eighth son, he's really going to kill you. And so he kind of incited Kamsa again. Obviously there's a whole lila and pastime with that, but we see this here again. So Hiranyaksha, obviously he's causing a lot of problems, not even on this planet, but within the universe. Him and his brother, Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu hasn't really stepped into the picture just yet. Hiranyaksha is doing all the bad stuff. But yeah, Narada Muni has intervened here to hasten the departure of Hiranyakashipu. So he's told him where, like, the universe is a big place. Varuna wasn't really sure where Varaha was, but Narada knew, so he told him exactly where to go. So off he goes. He will read in these few verses, in the verses later, that he comes to challenge Varahadev, and there's a battle that takes place, and of course the outcome is Varahadev wins the battle. And Varuna, he predicted this in this verse. You'll see that he says, you will be, what does he say? You will be the food for the jackals and the vultures, something like to those effects. And in the previous verse he mentions that. So this is a problem that we have with all of us. This is not just something that's happened all these years ago and it hasn't happened since. Every person, especially like in this period of time we're living now in Kali Yuga, it's said that the demoniac and the godly qualities are situated within all of us at the same time. Previously, they lived in different places and different planets, but now we're just, it's all there. So we have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. And there's a famous quote with Radhanath Swami. I'm sure he got it from somewhere else, but there's a famous quote he has where he says, there's two dogs within us, the good dog and the bad dog. And he said, which dog will win? Which one will win, will be successful in the fight? And he says the one that we feed the most will be the one that will be victorious in the battle. So if we're feeding these lower natures, qualities, this pride, this envy, this lust, if we're feeding these things more, they will develop more, they will become more prominent within our being. But if we see them arising in us and we are making diligent efforts to control them, at the same time cultivating these higher qualities, then we stand a chance, because the good dog's going to win. And that's our daily battle every day. We have to face that, the good and the bad dogs. Who are we feeding? And interestingly enough, today is the day that Prabhupada arrived in Boston Harbor in 1965, I think. And his mission, he came to give the message of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya, he came to kill not every person like who was a demon, but he came to kill the demoniac nature within all of us. So we have these verses where this concept is here, where the good guys and the bad guys and all that. And Lord Chaitanya, he's come in this age. If he was to go along the same lines as Krishna did, he would have to basically take us all out. Because we're all definitely works in progress. Whereas Lord Chaitanya, he has come to kill this demoniac nature within us. So Prabhupada is the messenger that came to the West. And of course, none of us would be here, even know anything about the Bhagavatam, let alone Krishna, let alone anything, if it wasn't for Prabhupada getting on that boat. I was just thinking, this morning I was thinking, like, on his journey over, he had those 2 heart attacks and he was quite ill, not just from that, but from seasickness. And then he gets off the ferry, off his boat, and he didn't really have much direction or where I just got to go. My spiritual master said I got to go. So he's there, weak and lonely and by himself. He had that first contact with Agarwals. But just try and put yourself in those shoes as an old man, not having just had those experiences on the boat and then landing. He's got a box of books. He's got $7. What's my next step? Where do I go from there? And he wrote a famous poem at that moment. So I thought I'd share that with you. This is, I think he was still on the boat in Boston Harbour when he wrote this, as far as I'm aware. There's a very nice recording of the actual Bengali by a devotee. I forget what his name was, but it's really, really nice. So this is it. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me, but I guess you have some business here, otherwise why would you bring me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva, Krishna. I do not know how they will be able to understand it, but I know that your causeless mercy can make everything possible, because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mallows of devotional service, O Lord? I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have come under the control of illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and most fallen. Therefore I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O my Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from the unhappy condition of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have a strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate and insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, aboard the Jaladuta. It was on the 18th of September 1965. Srila Prabhupada ki. think I'll stop there. Anybody have any questions, comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna, Guru. Thank you very much. I was reading, when you were talking about that our activities can turn into habits, and we have to be aware of the sort of activities we either want to cultivate or try and curtail. I was reading somewhere recently where it said, our activities in the beginning, our habits, are like spider webs that land on us. We don't even know they've landed. They're so light you can't even feel them. But as they become habits, they become like chains. And then they, to this point where they become so strong you can't even break them.
Yeah.
So we have to be really aware of what we're doing.
Yeah, well that's the three modes, that's the gunas. Gunas mean rope. And bind us. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the class. Regarding those two dogs, so I also heard that we need to gradually reduce the food for the bad dog. Otherwise, if you just one day stop giving food to it, and then give all the food to the good dog, the bad one will eat the good dog. Can you comment on that?
Well, I think that you could make an argument for discernment of those bad dog qualities. Try and get rid of the worst of them, and then slowly. So that's kind of like feeding them. Getting rid of the worst of them, which is not to get rid of envy, lust, greed. It's not like you can just say, okay, they're gone. It's a process to extricate those things from us. But yeah, I guess you write them out. Like there's, like Padma's really into all this kind of thing, and I'm actually learning this process at the moment also, where all your desires, all your thoughts, all your things you want to achieve, you write them out, and then you systematically. Pitambara's been doing also. You write it out, and you can see it there, and it's actually quite helpful. And then you can pick it apart, how and what and when, and make a plan to do something about it.
Brew, my idea at the moment of what anatta nivritti is like you act in a certain way, and then you realize, oh, that's not the right way to act, and then you sort of consciously give that up. Is that actually what cleaning the heart is, when you recognize a bad quality or a bad way you acted, and kind of the thoughts and emotions and feelings that brought about the way you acted or treated someone or even thought about someone, and then you sort of consciously give that up? Is that what actually cleaning is? That, am I on the right path there? Is that what the cleaning the heart is?
Yeah, well that pretty much goes along with, like, all the psychological treatments they have these days with with trauma, all that kind of stuff, where you're triggered by something, or in our case it's something will arise from the heart, and there'll be a strong desire or strong push or strong emotion. So we have to sit with that. We have to go through that experience. But if we don't let that take over, it's kind of like the same process. It's like a letting go of that thing. But if we become attached to it, or somehow try and suppress it, then it doesn't go away. And the process of bhakti is it's purifying of itself, if we can purely 100% do it all, if we can chant with full attention, full consciousness, then the chanting will do everything we need to do. But most of us, we're not chanting Suriname. We're chanting, we're all on the path. And of course, that even Namabas has positive effects. But we need to use these other tools. I feel anyway, we need to use these other tools to help us. Anything to help us is good.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was just thinking when Vishwajan Prabhu was asking his question, what popped into my mind is the most wonderful example of Srila Haridas Thakur, the way he treated Maya. He didn't put up a fight. He was actually quite polite to her. He just says, "Just please wait. I've just got to finish my rounds." So he had his life was organised in such a way that he had spiritual priorities, and he took care of those first. And there was no fighting involved with mine. Just it wasn't enough time. So I think that's a program Srila Prabhupada's given us. We've got to fill up our day in such a way, and have these ratas, these personal. Like I'm going to chant this, I'm going to read this, and you do it every day out of habit, and that's basically Maya has to wait, and by the time it's time for Maya, he's just too tired to deal with her. Just go to sleep and start again the next day. So I think Srila Haridas Thakur was a great inspiration for how he managed the direct onslaughts of Maya. She was sitting right in front of him, and he was very very polite to her and said, "I've just got to finish my rounds. Just please wait." Anyway.
Yeah,
just a thought.
Yeah. I remember the first time I went to visit my spiritual master, he was saying, they just started running, and they just haven't looked, like you see in the cartoons where the person, they're running and they run off a cliff, but they're still running. It's not till they look down and they fall. He said in the same way, he said, "I've just kept running." He said, "I haven't looked down yet." He said, "I just keep running." Of course, we have to be honest with, and some of us can do that. And the more we can do that, the better, of course, for sure. Anything else? Srimad Bhagavatam ki?